You heathens and demons, you beautiful, blasphemous people. Welcome back to the Raging Atheist. I'm your boy Nakasuchi, and today we're going to be talking to Barney Tearspell. We've got about 5 topics that we're going to address. I told Barney he can start with any topic, and we can talk about any topic in the order he wants. I think it should be a fairly decent conversation. I like Barney, and you know this isn't the first time we've been on stream, so it shouldn't get hostile. I think this will be a fair exchange of ideas. I'm going to come from my approach, and then I believe that Barney's smarter than me, so his will be probably more intelligent answers. But we'll see how this goes, because I'm actually looking forward to this conversation because this is into the realms that I've been trying to go lately. And I think that it'll give me a chance to really think about maybe some of these things and the approach I've taken so far, and maybe give me a chance to learn some things and take a different course going forward. So what's up, Barney? But you can go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, and we'll get started.
Well, I've been introduced last night, so I don't think there's any point in doing it night after night after night after night. So the initial impulse was the stream that you did a couple of weeks ago about YouTube monetization and politics and atheism, like the mix and intersection of those topics, where I would actually like to challenge you and kind of challenge this pervasive view of YouTube, and kind of try to be the advocate for YouTube, that okay, they're actually right in demonetizing, and that they're actually approaching it the right way. Now, that's not going to be a popular view, but I'll do my best. And besides that, like the last couple of weeks, streams on your channel have been around this change from the angry anti-theist to Nakasuchi.
I'm trying. I think I still exhibit some of it a little bit sometimes. But yeah, I'm trying.
So I'd like to kind of delve into kind of scratch under the surface of that, of what's wrong with the community, of what's wrong with the world in general currently, but also, again, try to push back a bit. Like I consider myself a feminist, and under all serious considerations, I would fall under the same label of leftist, SJW, liberal, goody two-shoes kind of guy. But I think there are points that can be said for anti-SJW movement and for the MRAs and for the all of that that thing that we kind of subsume under toxicity, where I think that those things are not identical to toxicity. The toxicity pervades everything.
Right? Yeah, and I want to be challenged, and I think I would like to think about it and maybe clarify some things, because I think I've noticed just watching some of the streams back lately, because it's hard. Time is always the thing, but I have tried to watch some of my streams back, and I've noticed some mistakes and things that maybe I should clarify. And I think it's going to take a much broader discussion with some of these things moving forward and come into actual conclusions. But yeah, I'm ready. This would be good to get some pushback, because usually the rooms are either in agreement or we're on topics that's not really about the show. And I think that the show has become somewhat of a topic, and it should be addressed. So yeah, I'm ready to do that.
So one kind of disclaimer that I'd like to put before it is, and kind of also introduction to the topic, the distinction between mentioning something and talking about something. I don't know if you follow Sam Harris.
Yeah, I used to. I'm not I used to defend a lot of his comments, and I used to listen to his show weekly, but I stopped because it just seems like he's trying to go a little farther every time now, and it's becoming like a routine. So I'm not that big of a fan anymore.
So I am a huge fan of his and a supporter of his channel, and I genuinely do believe him when he goes out and says that he is a left of the center moderate who is absolutely for equality, for reason, for moral, ethical consideration of others, and like all the best things. I do believe him when he says that he does respect and care for the moderate Muslim, right? But there is a kind of a noticeable problem in the way that he approaches things that I think identifies a large part of the anti-SJW problem. He mentions his core beliefs, but he talks about the minor gripes. So the way that I can see his mind is, well, all of these things that I have listed that I believe that he believes are kind of everyday and common for him. They are things that he takes for granted, that don't really need to be discussed. Yes, the right wings are idiots. Yes, their politics are stupid and hateful, but that's everyday and normal. And the group of the people that he usually hangs out with agree on that in his everyday life. So he doesn't have the impetus to talk about it. He doesn't have the impetus to engage that issue. But when he looks at his own side, he sees these issues of extremism, of going too far in liberalism, in feminism, in leftism, the censoring, the deplatforming, the kind of identity politics and devaluation of the market of ideas. And he sees that as an immediate problem that he wants to talk about. So where I would kind of identify him as 80% agree, but he keeps talking about the 10% which are right against his mainstream position. And I like when I look at Armored Skeptic, and to some degree, even what's his name? Oh, damn it. The shitlord, edgelord.
Amazing Atheist?
No, Sargon of Akkad.
Sargon, oh yeah, okay.
Right? Sargon has literally gone off the cliff. He has taken the bus and drove off the cliff.
Sargon is probably what made me dislike the anti-SJWs the most, probably.
Or another example would be Thunderfoot, right?
I never watched much of his, but I've heard about him. But yeah, go ahead.
Where most of these people at some point profess the same things that I've just said about Sam Harris, that they are kind of left of the center, but they see these problems and these problems are relevant, and then started piling on and piling on and piling on and cherry picking, like identifying the biggest problems that will show everybody what the problem with this leftist identity issue is, and then just went too far. Thunderfoot at some point kind of stepped on the ball and said, this is bullshit. Noticed that he was trolling, I think. Did several really stupid things. I've unsubbed from him when he went too far. And then he rolled the ball back in and turned it all to science and to education and I have full respect for him now. And he has made kind of several videos which are precisely what I think needs to be said. Sargon has gone the completely opposite way
Yeah,
of just, crazy communists are taking over the world. We need to burn them down or they're going to kill us all.
Yeah, I wouldn't rape her. I wouldn't rape her because she's ugly. You know, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah. So
yeah, Sargon turned me, like, I was never a Sargon fan ever. Like, I never got into his videos, never watched them. I've been attacked by the frog army so many times, it's crazy. Which I don't know if that's him or if that's just alt-right shit. But they seem to attack me when I talked about Sargon the few times that I did. I usually don't talk about anti-SJWs because I just don't like them, and I don't really have much reason outside of it's just not my politics. And you're right, like a lot of them, like, you know, the Amazing Atheist is he calls himself a libertarian, but he's more along my lines. I think, like, he supports Bernie Sanders, which I did right up until recently. So we have a lot of the same politics, but it's when he focuses on that anti-SJW, anti-feminism, it really turns me off. And I just, something inside of me just inherently rejects it. And it's like, this isn't right. Like, sure, there are toxic people in every community. There's going to be your Anna Kasparians of the feminist movement, but you shouldn't take away from the feminist movement because of those people. Just like in the atheist community, like, I really, you know, in that last stream wanted to reiterate, you know, come out and clarify that, you know, I'm not talking about all the entire atheist community. I'm talking about a very few people in the atheist community that are actually toxic and doing shit that I don't really like, because it's pretty much a good community full of free thinkers, you know, and it seems to have went a lot farther left the last few years than it was before. So, I mean, I see a lot of good things in the community, but I don't like anti-SJWs, and I get emotional about it. So I usually don't speak about it. And I definitely shouldn't compare them to Nazis. I was wrong to compare them to Nazis because they're not Nazis. So yeah, I shouldn't be getting emotional talking about things, which is something that I'm trying to work on moving forward. It's one of the reasons why I rebranded, because I don't want to do that no more. So I shouldn't do that anymore. For some reason, I can't breathe.
I know.
I got to quit smoking.
It's a heavy topic. It's so. Again, I am not entirely comfortable saying all of these things. I kind of fear backlash, and that's precisely the reason why I need to talk about these things, because I know that I am not doing this with any malicious intent. Mm-hmm. I want to have this conversation. I think that no matter which side you're on, if the solution is shutting down the conversation, then we have lost the battle.
Yeah.
That, right? The internet skepticism, the internet atheism 10 years ago kind of went all anti-SJW in a big way. Mm-hmm. Some with a meaningful value to it, some with just being shitlords and grabbing views with drama. But yes, it's a very relevant conversation, and it really should stop mattering how much somebody is offensive if they're offensive in their sincere beliefs. If somebody is a misogynist, if somebody is a sexist, if somebody is a racist, I seriously do believe that we need to sit down with those people and talk, if they can talk about it, right? Mm-hmm. I do, on the other hand, support what you're doing and what your moderators are doing, that if they don't want to talk, if they want to shut down conversation, if they want to just troll and attack everybody and call people, like be rude to people and come in with the attempt to provoke people into a reaction so that they have self-justification, then I'm sorry, we're not having a conversation and you do not belong here. Just go away and do that somewhere else.
Yeah. Like, you know, I think I've liked most of what the moderation has done in the Discord server. There's been a couple things like, So I think sometimes we get a little picky about general chat, and I think they try to move it to debate me, bro, which is something that I wanted at first, but just thinking about it and looking at it, I'm like, as long as it's not too much of a like heated back and forth, let it stay in general chat. So, people coming in sees the activity. I don't know, but outside of that, like if you're going to come in and just be rude or try to shut down the conversation, the guy I was talking about yesterday, I was going to give him a chance to come on. I just don't think I can anymore because he just keeps trolling my comments and just everything he says. I'm like, dude, no, you don't make any sense. Like, it just sounds like almost like he's trying to have this psychic connection with me now. Like, he can get in my brain and tell me what I'm thinking. And it's really weird. And I'm like, just go on, dude, find another Discord server, find another atheist on YouTube, because what I'm doing, like I kind of stepped into it. I had a thought and a vision, and I'm trying to stay to that, but I think I was naive to what I was really stepping into, and some of the reaction I would get, especially from the more anti-theists that were here for the anti-theism. And I think I reacted badly to it. So I need to kind of rethink my strategy on that and be more empathetic about it and understand that people are going to be disappointed. But hopefully they can also enjoy the new direction if I can get it there and stop talking so much shit. But the anti-SJW thing, when you reached out to me about this, this was the one that I had been thinking about a lot, because even though I got mad at Wujita about his comment about it, and I really shouldn't have, I do need to step back and not be so emotional about this subject. I might disagree with everything that I hear them say, but that doesn't mean that they're not valid points from their perspective. And I'll never be able to actually talk to them and maybe start changing that perspective if I'm calling them a fucking Nazi when they're not. Yeah.
So there's kind of three reasons why people come online to talk, right? They either come for the entertainment value, for the lulls, for watching people get destroyed, and those are the arguments of wit. Who can come up with the quickest, wittiest, funniest, or most provocative statement, right? Who can make the big bag? Who can be the Christopher Hitchens of the conversation? And another one is kind of the rage, the outrage, the venting, I am frustrated with this group of people, or with this person, or with this event that keeps happening, this perception that keeps being present in my life. And this is a place where I am somewhat anonymous, and I'm just an avatar, and I'm just an alias on the internet, and I can vent and I can let it all out and spew it all out. And both watching that and receiving that and that's kind of arguing with loudness, arguing with brashness.
I did it for a long time.
Yeah. And the third is having conversations, exchanging ideas, trying to understand things, arguing with knowledge, right? Being able to say, oh, I don't understand you. I'm now going to try to understand you. You're not making sense to me. Please explain. I want to understand. Oh, you have mentioned something that I don't believe. Where can I look it up? How can I find out more about that? And all three of those, and that's kind of, it's not as entertaining, but I think it's a lot more fulfilling, right? It's a lot more meaningful. It's a lot harder. It takes a lot more effort. It takes a lot more time. You cannot just rush in and sweep the panel and be the victor of wit or rage. But you get more out of it over time. It's cumulative. Every conversation adds on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's been what I've done is I was pretty much that edgelord screaming and shouting at the microphone, a reactionary. And once I started live streaming, I tried to do that live, and I did, and I had the Darth Dawkins and the Standing for Truths and Matt Powell. But yeah, ultimately that got boring. I'm not learning nothing from that, so since I've started doing these, like it started with the open room and it'd be a free for all, but they've become more organized and moderated and topic based. And now I'm actually learning from people instead of yelling at people. And yeah, it might not be the shit show everybody wanted to come and see when they first started watching me, but I'm learning. And I think you're right. Over time, that's just going to bear its rewards for the channel because I'm getting smarter. I'm talking to smarter and smarter people and learning about, what y'all were talking about last night. I never even really thought about that stuff before. I'm just trolling in the chat because I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? But it was great. It was brilliant. I learned, and that's more beneficial to me, and I think to the audience right now, and for the long haul. Now, can I do that correctly? That's the thing that's going to be seen. I think we're starting to get there, and I think John's help is going to help me because he's going to bring that different type of show. But we'll see. And I think we'll get there.
I don't think that there is a way to do that, quote unquote, correctly.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is a reachable ideal in any of those. If you're trying, you're doing it correctly. If your consideration in what you're doing is an ethical consideration, if you're trying to do good with all of your faculties, you are doing it correctly. Even when you're wrong, even when you make mistakes, even when you do wrong things, because you are motivated by the right thing, you are trying to do good. And that's kind of that's where the hard problem of this conversation comes in, because I do sincerely believe that there are racist, Nazis, misogynists, anti-SJWs who are doing that. Who are doing it out of the sincere conviction from their heart, where I disagree with them, where I think they're wrong, where I think that their ideas are evil, misguided, bad for me, for humanity, for everybody, for themselves. But I don't think that they're being dishonest, and I don't think that they are evil or wrong, and in that sense, where I want to have that conversation, where I want them to freely use the language that they use to communicate their ideas as purely and as cleanly as they can, so that we can discuss it, so that we can bring it down to the argument.
Yeah, and I need to start making that distinction and just stop it. I use the word Nazi too much. I think you should reserve it for actual Nazis, and I use it more of an adjective. Like I described it. I think it was in Discord. Like the way I use it is the way Seinfeld uses it. The soup Nazi. He's not really a Nazi. He's just a Nazi about a soup. And I need to stop doing that because it makes me look bad. And then it pisses off people because you're calling them a fucking Nazi, So it's just one of the things that I really, really need to be aware of moving forward, and try not to do that no more.
And yeah, it's kind of a way to guarantee that the shields will be up and that they will be screaming so that they don't have to hear you, and that they will if you do that in excess, if you cannot contain yourself, you're kind of making yourself irrelevant in the conversation, either irrelevant or a hypocrite.
Yeah, and it just shows me to be irrational in that moment. And that's been one of my criticisms is allowing my emotions to overcome me, and then what better way to show it than stop actually debunking the argument and just insulting the person. It's one of the things that I'm really trying to change about the channel. It's what I didn't like about a lot of my response videos is I'm not debunking the argument. See, like when Mr. Atheist covers Girl Defined, and he'll actually look at the arguments and take his time to put those arguments down. I'm just talking shit. I'm picking on the people, not what they're saying in reality. So that's one of the things that I haven't liked about myself, and the raging atheist is, because that's something you and your friends do. You just talk shit. You're drinking, you're smoking, you're watching YouTube videos, and you talk shit. And that's pretty much just what I did live for a couple years. And it's demeaning and it's insulting, and it's not the person that I really am. I don't go around insulting people. I stay quiet. I'm not going to insult you just because you believe in God or whatever. So it's something that I'm trying to change, but at the same time, still need to be highly critical of Christianity where I find it faults in it. Also start expanding and maybe looking at other religions more.
So the truest in live chat says, the thing they do to stifle criticism is make it wrong to call out Nazis. So yeah, that's why I said that it's a hard problem. It is often kind of almost impossible to distinguish that sincere person that I disagree with and the person who is just a troll, who even like they might sincerely believe that, but they are here to derail the conversation. And if they are not answering to questions, if they are not explaining themselves, if they are not trying to justify their positions, if they are purposefully misunderstanding or misconstruing everything that you're saying, there will be a point where you kind of have to recognize that the conversation is impossible. But coming into a conversation with the assumption that that person is dishonest, that person is trolling you because you disagree, is also a failure. So the balance there is delicate. It's hard to identify. I honestly haven't found any solution except kind of relying on stoicism and relying on the principles on the principle of charity and principle of humanity, the conversations that aren't conversations, that are just trolling, are the conversations that I'm going to regret having, but that are ultimately irrelevant, right? You cannot lose such a conversation. You cannot win such a conversation. You can just be wasting time with such a conversation. But the conversations where you get value, where you, one, manage to get the other person involved and engaged into talking to you about the exchange of ideas, into getting you to understand them, not to persuade you, but to get you to understand. Those are ideas worth having. And I think that it is actually valuable in that sense to assume that everybody's genuine.
Yeah. Even though we know people lie, but yeah, I think you should assume that people are being genuine. And I think that most Nazis real Nazis wouldn't really run away from it. There's a story, like one of my bosses at one of my old jobs, a factory I used to work at. He just came up to me and talked about how he was in that he was a nationalist, fascist or whatever, or nationalist socialist, and pretty much was Hail Hitler. Like never would have thought about it. Looking at, didn't see no swastika tattoos on his forehead. Never would have known it, but he came right up and just said it, and because he knew I was political, and I don't know why he thought I would accept that, but yeah, I think most of them are. You do have your professionals that have to pretty much lie to save their jobs, and it's one of the things that I do appreciate about Antifa, is that they do dox real Nazis and put their information out so you know who they are. But then at the same time, like, what if they're wrong? Like it is a slippery slope that I'm not sure if I can fully support, because if you're wrong and you dox the wrong person, then somebody's life is ruined and they weren't ever a Nazi. So I think that discussion is still one that needs to continue in the future, because we did have an Antifa discussion, a good one, but I think we could go more in depth. But they do fight actual Nazis, and I think if you're going to label somebody a Nazi, and this is coming from somebody that has used it far too often, you should have evidence that they actually hold some of those beliefs before you start putting that label on them. And that's something that I need to work on politically, and on this channel thrown around as an adjective as I have, pretty much.
Yeah, so it is not necessary to call a Nazi a Nazi. It is not necessary to call anybody a Nazi. In a certain sense, it is an N-word, right? It is a word which demeans and devalues, and where I do agree and believe that true, genuine Nazis need to be demeaned and devalued, I don't think that I need that word to do that. I need to get them to expose themselves. I need to get them to tell me their sincere ideas and thoughts and plans and solutions, because if they really are a Nazi and if they present those ideas, what they are will be obvious. Because Nazis are not horrible because they're Nazis. Nazis are horrible because of what they believe and what they're trying to do, right? I don't need to call you a Nazi, ever, anyby.
Yeah, you're. I mean, just their beliefs should be easily countered against. And I think that is the problem that a lot of people have when they're talking to white supremacists or actual Nazis, is that they do spend a lot of time researching their ideology. I was going to speak to a white supremacist in Spencer's movement, Richard Spencer, and a lot of my friends talked me out of it because these people are going to know their rhetoric, and if you don't know the rhetoric 100%, don't go into the conversation. If you do, go into it, crush them. But you want to come out the victor, and you need to pretty much make sure you're going to. So you need to know what they're going to say before they say it. They convinced me not to do it because it is a responsibility, and it should be rather easy. But they spend a lot of time researching their rhetoric, and they're going to be able to combat you fairly well. So you should be prepared for it. So they did end up talking me out of doing that conversation, and I canceled it. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes is God in chat. Can't Hove and CPA. Yeah, we'll see how they do. Can't Hove and CPA. But
somebody says Antifa supports violence, which I do not. So yes, I agree. The violent solution, it's always a problem of action. If what you object to in principle is hate, is violence, is bigotry, then you cannot resort to those things to solve the problem. Right? Now, Antifa is not one thing. Antifa is not an organization. There is no president of Antifa. There is no board of members. There is no membership. If you are against fascism, you are a member of Antifa. You are an anti-fascist, right? If you are an anti-fascist who believes that it is okay to violently attack people, hit them, hurt them, go with clubs with them, organize and come out to the streets, destroy their property, I'm sorry, I disagree with you. We cannot fight them by becoming them. That's not how any of this goes. We are kind of succumbing to the internet rhetoric of virtue signaling and political correctness and being identified as wrong things, which are evils in themselves, which need to be avoided at all costs, first of all, right? Without noticing that exhibiting any virtue can be called virtue signaling. Yes, we want people to have virtue, and those people that have virtues, we want them to exhibit it in maximal amounts to everybody as much as possible. That politeness and political correctness look the same. What we're talking about, what we are objecting to, is the motivation. If you are just being politically correct because you will have political consequences and you are going to lose some value, or you are afraid that somebody's going to come after you for what you're saying, but you mean the other thing, then fuck your political correctness. I really don't need that. That's a bad thing. That's a harmful thing. That's again and again being shown. But that doesn't mean that you need to be outwardly rude and crass just to avoid the appearance of political correctness. Like, no, come on, be polite, be nice, be patient, sit on your fucking damn high horse and look down on people and do good. Be as good as you can, right?
Yeah. So I'm kind of still out on what I actually think. Because I think Antifa gets a bad name from a few bad actors. Like you said, Antifa isn't an organization. I saw one of my new trolls, Abraham, thinking, saying that if they weren't an organization, they wouldn't need that stupid name. The name Antifa just means anti-fascists. If you are against fascism, then you are by definition Antifa. And not all Antifa wear masks. That is part of a certain strategy of some groups. I did a lot of research for my live stream about Antifa, but I'm still not sure on whether, because I know pretty much since World War II or even before World War II, the way to deal with fascists was to bring violence against them. It was the only way. But we do live in a different world where we're trying to be nonviolent. Like generally, I'm nonviolent, and yet I've always held to the position that it's okay to do violence against Nazis. And now I'm not so sure that I hold that position. So I'm not sure where I fall with Antifa, but it is we had a good discussion about it. And it is something that is, it's not easily solved because Antifa isn't any one thing. So you can point at this Antifa and be like, it's shit. And I would agree. I was like, yeah, I don't like that. But you can point at this Antifa and it's just some dude behind their computer trying to find Nazis. Yeah, I like that. So I don't know. It's something I'm still learning about as I move forward.
That's precisely what I meant by the problem of inaction, right? How can you be a humanist and judge others, right? How can you be a pacifist and fight against violence? How can you be a subjectivist and call for the punishment of crimes, right? Those things seem antithetical. And in the same sense that I've just talked about politeness and political correctness or having virtue versus virtue signaling, it comes down to motivation. It comes down to what you are doing, how you are doing it, yes, if we need to fight them, then we need to fight. But if your first answer is, well, last time we won them, we fought them, bring up the arms, let's go. That's I'm sorry, you are in the wrong here. If your first response is a call for violence, if you are going to be happy about it, if you are going to enjoy punching that Nazi, if you are going to gleefully watch the punishment of that monster, then you need to look inside yourself and consider what you're doing, right?
I mean, doesn't that kind of make you the same? Like, you're enjoying the pain, and I think that is why I can't come to a final determination when thinking about Antifa or people that go to protests, because in one part of my mind, they're doing something very brave. They're standing in the face of hatred. It's something that I try to do. But in the next, they are enjoying it as well. And I remember enjoying hurting people. And to me, that's it's not a normal state of mind. You're not in a normal state of mentality. To me, if you are enjoying hurting human beings, I don't think that I was when I did. So, yeah, it is. that's the hard part about it, is that, whether you try to run away from it when you're talking about Antifa or not, they do commit crimes. And these crimes should not go unpunished. So it is very hard to have a final determination, because it's Nazis, and they're real Nazis. They're not, just the word playing around, So, but at the same time, you're right. If your first initial reaction is, let's go and be happy about killing some Nazis or punching some Nazis, then I have to take issue with that. It goes against everything I believe politically.
Yes, and the appropriate first reaction is, we need to outvote them. We need to be active in outvoting them. We need to seek out and activate people and get them to see that civil engagement and understanding of civil structure and systems and politics is relevant. That you do not get to remove yourself from society and let them do this.
Yeah, and there's still a very small minority of the population here in America. Like, it's not like everybody's jumping on the fascist bandwagon. I think that there's some latent fascism going on in Trump support, but I still have to believe that in this country, fascism is as dirty a word as socialism, hopefully dirtier. But I have to believe that most, if they really saw the fascism, would stand against it. I would hope. I would hope, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But this was the one of the questions that you sent me that I was most interested in, because, and especially the part where you said, let me find it. How can humanists judge? And this has been an issue of mine, like looking at myself. I call myself this humanist, and yet I am vicious and toxic towards Christians, sometimes who don't even believe it. You pointed it out the other day. I think it was you that when you asked, how is this different? How is this demonization of all Christianity any different than bigotry? And I don't think that it is. And this is something that I've really looked at myself, and I haven't really liked about myself the last several months, is that while I stand against bigotry, I stand for equality, I call myself a humanist, and yet I stand in judgment of people that don't believe like I do or agree with me. It's one of the main reasons why I started talking to people that had faith again, when I didn't used to. And I think it's helped me, but I have a long way to go.
The key identifier there for me is, am I judging this person merely on his belonging, right? That person is a Christian. I don't know anything else about that person. Is it enough for me? Is that enough information for me to hate them or to think that they are wrong and like for any group of people that I have direct interaction with, and I know individuals that are evil, and I know individuals that are good. I know individuals that I disagree with, and I know individuals that are sincerely trying to do the best they can, even when we disagree, right? And I think that that's the humanist approach, like literally the principle of humanity, the principle of humanity in conversation. Right? You know what the principle of humanity and principle of charity are, right? The principle of charity is, if you are having a conversation, then believe that the person you are talking to is telling you genuine things, that they are not being dishonest. If you are going to assume that they're dishonest, then you're not having a conversation. Mm-hmm. You can. That doesn't mean you have to think them right. That doesn't mean that just that they are sincere and genuine about what they're saying, and then go from there. And the principle of humanism is not humanism. The principle of humanity, again, in rhetoric, in dialogue, is assume that you are talking to a human, that what they are saying is part of their worldview and stems from their worldview, that's how they see the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That what they're saying, if what they're saying doesn't make sense, like the principle of charity is, if what they're saying doesn't make sense under your understanding of things, seek out a different understanding, because nobody who is speaking sincerely is saying things that don't make sense to them. So you need to find how it makes sense to them, and then you need to find where is the error in that. You don't get to just discount it as they're irrational, they're idiots, they're morons, they're stupid, they're mentally diseased, they're no. You need to find what the argument is. You need to find what the worldview is. They are humans. In every group, there are bad people. In every group, there are good people. Literally, if you use their identity, the color of their skin, the length of their hair, the accent that they use, or their worldview or beliefs as an identifier for who they are as a person, you done goofed. You fucked up. You're in the wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, and I think that I need to get better about accepting worldviews. I have this problem with Trumpers that I know to be good people, and they support really horrible shit, and I can't understand it. And I try to figure it out, and I think about it obsessively. Sometimes it drives me crazy, and I can never figure it out. And I think that's what you're speaking to is you got to figure that out, or you're never going to really be able to reach them at all. Because there's something crossed when people that I know are compassionate human beings are supporting some of the things they're supporting now, when they never supported that before. How are they able to change? And it's got to be something in their worldview allowing them to do so. I know I get very condescending sometimes when it comes to what I call a Trumpinite, but I need to stop being so. I'm trying to understand why, because I don't think I have a fear that if we don't understand the Trump voter going into this next election, then we're going to be victims to them again.
Are you familiar with the Rappaport rules of criticism?
I don't think so. No, maybe Rappaport. Like it sounds familiar, but I don't think so.
It's a concept which is kind of promoted by and popularized by Dan Dennett. You know who Dan Dennett is? One of the four horsemen of atheism.
No, right? I have no idea. He's a father of atheism. I should know this.
So the four horsemen, right? Hitchens.
Yeah. I know Hitchens. All right.
Dawkins.
Yeah, Dawkins made me toxic for quite a while.
And Dennett.
And who? Oh, and Dennett. So you said Harris. So I knew the other three. I've just never heard of him.
Okay, so Dennett is kind of the quietest of them. He's a philosopher. He's a proper philosopher, and like he is one of the people who truly bring value to philosophy. Look him up if you haven't, or go like when you see the original Four Horsemen show, the one that got them named. Like you can perfectly identify the three personalities that I have presented at the beginning of wit, rage, and kind of wisdom, right? Where Dennett is the most boring, but brings most information and the most thought out arguments and the most humanist approach, and right, and that's why he's not as famous as the others. But why you really should pay attention to him.
Yeah, when you said philosophy, I know Dragnot's light bulb had to be flashing on top of his head. He's like, yeah, Nakasuchi doesn't know philosophy. And it's my fault because Drag is has a lot of people willing to kind of give me an introduction, and I've just not found the time to do it. And I keep saying I'm going to, and we'll see if it ever happens. I do know I want to start learning philosophy. Like I've seen now what Dragnot's done a couple times, and he says that he's nothing special when it comes to philosophy. I would disagree, but like I've seen Ocean do some things a couple times. Like a couple people have really used philosophy, and I'm like, yeah, I want to learn a little more about philosophy. I love to read. I've read philosophers before. I've just never really went in depth and studied it or cared about it. And I usually run away from it because I'm like, I don't even want to think about. I don't have time to think about tying my shoes sometimes. Which is
the reason why I brought up Dennett was the Rappaport rules of criticism. So regardless of the history of them, they go as follows: how to compose a successful critical commentary. Number 1. You should attempt to re-express your target's position so clearly, vividly, and fairly that your target says, "Thanks, I wish I'd thought of putting it that way." Then 2, you should list any points of agreement, especially if they are not matters of general or widespread agreement. 3, you should mention anything that you have learned from your target. 4, only then you are permitted to say as much as a word of rebuttal or criticism. Right? And that's, I cannot tell you how much I endorse that way of conversation. When it's mutual, it's a guarantee for a great, meaningful dialogue, no matter how far apart in disagreement you are with the person you're talking, because it guarantees that you understand what their argument is, that they will hear what you have to say, and that you are beginning from the mutual standpoint. So you are actually identifying where the real disagreement is, instead of bickering about semantics and things which really contribute nothing to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas people usually kind of go for the kill. You have said something. That something can be interpreted, like in your opening statement, in your first sentence, you have said something that can be interpreted as wrong, and I'm going to stop you there and tell you wrong and end the conversation there and not let you progress because you have said something that I've interpreted as wrong. Like, that's not a conversation. That's not even a debate. That's like taking somebody behind the barn and shooting them.
Yeah. That's another thing that I'm really trying to work on is because that's what Rage did. Rage just kind of found the little things to kind of nitpick on and then would pick on you for those things. I feel really bad about a few of my MMA Jenkins videos picking on her quirkiness and just the actual human being she is. And I'm supposed to be this humanist, and I'm picking on a human being for being the human being that they are. It's been a paradox of my personality, and I think it's been something that's been kind of eating away at me for a long time. I've gotten a lot of good feedback on my conversation with that Christian vlogger, and like, yes, this is what we want to see, and this is what, and that's what I really want to try to do is find Christians that I can have common ground with, and really have a dialogue about differences and how we could like live together. And I've been really interested in that for a long time. And you can't do that if it's an unhealthy conversation. You can't do that if you're going into the conversation dismissing everything about them to begin with. And that's something that I'm really trying to work on myself. G-Man came in my comments yesterday and was trolling me. And I'm like, dude, have you not even like watched anything? You're just going to come in and troll because like have been talking about 2 weeks how I'm trying to be different to Christians. And here you are talking shit about me. So, but it's going to be a work in progress. You don't change overnight. And I really, I wrote that shit down that you just told me, because I need to start looking at philosophy. And, I looked at the other three guys. I used to be a big fan of Sam Harris. I think the thing that turned me off of Sam Harris was, when, like I defended him when he brought Charles Murray onto his show. I had actually read the Bell Curve before that. And so I defended him, but then just his constant defense of Murray really just kind of turned me off of Harris. And I think that's probably why I stopped listening to him.
Yeah, I understand. I I don't know if it's just my rationalization, but my notion of it is he is not basically what I said before, right? It's not that he's in agreement with Marie, because on so many points he is obviously not, but on those things where he sees the merit of the conversation, people have come at him so hard that he has to defend himself. And then he digs in, and then he defends himself more and more and more and more. And what ends up happening is that he keeps mentioning, as an aside, I don't agree with the man, but he keeps talking about where Murray is justifiable or right? The content is in the 5%, which should be irrelevant, because that's what he is pressed on.
And it's gotten to the point that he just fell out of my routine, and I stopped listening to his podcast because like, I understand Murray's position, and I understand what the entire bell curve says. I disagree with that chapter. There's only one chapter, that's controversial about that book. And I disagree with that chapter fundamentally. And I understood Harris's defense of it. It always seemed to me that the reaction to Sam Harris, especially like earlier on when he was making the Muslim comments and people were just attacking. That's that herd mentality that I was speaking of in my stream the other night. And I've always been against that herd mentality. And usually, like, if I see it happening, I will step outside of it and just not be part of it, just not to be a part of it, even if it's something that's justified. But with him, I've always seen that. And at first, like I said, I really defended it, even though I didn't agree with that particular chapter, and I didn't agree with the things that Harris was saying in support. Although I understood Harris is brilliant, like if he always articulates himself. But I do think that once you have that toxicity coming at you full blast, then you're either going to change your mind, which is going to be actually harder to do because people are coming at you with so much negativity, or you're going to double down, dig in your heels, and go back harder. And I think that's what he did. And I think that that's a result a lot of times of this herd mentality. I think it makes the problem worse than it was to begin with because of all the outrage and reaction.
You end up constantly pointing to the thing that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was trying to address the other night, and failed to probably do it right. I think we were all a little emotional. We should have had that conversation when we were less emotional about the shit that happened on Discord the night before.
But yeah, so a huge part of the solution is literally not feeding the trolls. Like what your moderation is doing, and yes, that's right. Don't get outraged. Don't call them out. Just time them out.
Yeah.
Warn them. You have been warned. These are the rules of the house that you have entered. I warned you not to do what you're doing. Please be polite and have a conversation. If you cannot do that, please go outside and go to another house where that's allowed.
Yeah. Like I don't go into somebody's house and start smoking if I know that they don't want me to smoking in their house. I step outside and I have my cigarette, and I'm not even gonna like be in their yard. Usually, I'm gonna go out to the street just to respect them, because that's just how I am. So I thank you, Barney. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Are we going to make mistakes? We're human beings. Hell yeah. And we're going to try to fix them, but it's ultimately a respect thing. And if a moderator warns you, have respect for that moderator, change your tone, or you're going to get timed out. And most of the people, hopefully that are getting timed out are trolls that are just being reprehensible in their trolling. Not every troll, because I like trolls. I troll.
And that is not a violation of your First Amendment rights. That is not even a violation of your philosophical freedom of speech rights. You can still share your ideas. You can still talk about what you want to talk about. You just need to talk in an appropriate tone of voice using the appropriate language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. And a couple people are having issues with it. And
taking away from you the words retard, moron, whichever word on the list you want to put there about another person, that does not restrict the amount, the content, or the volume of the ideas that you can convey.
Yeah. And you know, I've been a jackass for a long time. I'm trying to improve myself. I'm trying to improve my rhetoric. You know, it's a process. It's probably too late. You know, I've been swearing like a sailor my daughter's entire life, but I don't want to swear all the time. You know, like it's just it's a remnant from my rebellious childhood days, and screw God, he don't want me to say fuck. I'm going to say fuck. That's pretty much what it comes down to. But you know, language is language. I don't really get butthurt over language. The big issue was dismissing people as if they're nothing, othering people.
Yes,
I have a huge problem with that, and I always have, and I probably always will. You know,
but it's so easy to do.
Yeah,
I do it to them.
Yeah, I do it with Christians, and now I've been a lot broader and saying Abrahamics a lot more lately. So I'm painting with a broader brush than I was before in a way. But I'm trying to be nicer about it. I don't know if my video "Does God Really Exist" was me being nicer, but you know, it's
on the other hand, like you have to, when you paint with broad brushes, right? With that brush, you have painted a G-man, but you have also painted Max, who was on the Hangout yesterday.
Yeah.
Who was polite and reasonable and patient and well presented in his position,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was kind of what bugged me. I am an atheist. I am a positive atheist. I'm not an agnostic. I'm not. I don't merely lack belief. Right, and it does kind of bug me whenever I hear any Christian, such as G-Man, speak about atheists as people without morality, people who don't care about what's good, people who have no grounding, people who... I'm sorry, that's kind of the core and essence of my being. I want to be a good person.
That's the vast majority of the atheist community is that, you know, that type of good person.
I am human. I do have urges and thoughts and which are immoral, right? And I combat them and I fight them and I seek to be a good person. So when you paint with that broad brush against atheists, you are also painting me with a thing that I know I am not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we get mad when they do it to us, and then I go and do it to them. You know, so yeah, I'm going to try to be more specific in my disdain, and you know, like even with Christians that I'm really trying to like that Christian vlogger, he has beliefs that I am repelled by. You know, but the good outweighs the bad, and you've got to find the good, and then try to understand it from their position. So what I'm trying to do is to go back to my Christianity and just try to remember how I was and why I believe those things and how vehemently I believe those things, and try to come from that perspective. Because like you say, you know, we're challenging their entire worldview. It's not something that's going to change overnight. It's not something you're not going to get that moment to where they're like, hey, I'm an atheist now, you convinced me. It's not going to happen. Only with more empathy, with a true conversation, maybe you can start to reach them if they're willing to talk. Because a lot of Christians aren't even really willing to talk about it. The ones that are, I think that I should probably do a better chance of actually trying to reach them instead of. I mean, I have fun with Sky Out, but am I really helping Sky Out when I troll him as viciously as I do? Maybe, maybe Sky Out would be my exception. But I don't know. Even Sky Out deserves respect, and I should give him more respect than I do, I think. What do you think, chat? Should I give Sky Out more respect? Abraham Lincoln will be like, yeah.
On the other hand, like I know Vegeta for a while, and I come to Jay Pachich's channel, and like that's usually the shits and giggles and lulls and fun and getting the silliest and most outrageous Christians there and kind of bashing them with literally with their stupidity with and like I get it. Vegeta is young and he's immature, but that guy is really, really, really smart. And I've seen him in discussions where when he digs in, when he reaches in and puts in effort, he can have phenomenal conversations. So yeah, I wouldn't shun him as a person. I wouldn't throw him
not
out.
going to. Yeah,
Right?
I feel bad about how I treated Vegeta.
I would just ask him if he's interested in this kind of conversation, in the kind of conversation that we had yesterday, right? Come here for that conversation. And when you want to make fun of jungle jargon, then go on to Jay Pachich's. And if you want to make fun of G-mens of the world, go on to Drags, right? There is a place for that.
Yeah,
and I'll watch you there, right? And I'll go on to Talk Shit Tuesday show and engage in the fun and making fun and being outrageous. And sure, but if this is the place to have real conversations, then don't do it here.
Yeah, and partly it's my fault because I did do that for so long, and I still do it every once in a while when I do my live response videos. I'm trying to be more comedic than anything in a lot of those live streams. But yeah, when I'm having these conversations and they're real conversations, yeah, I think that he's great for that. I've always liked Vegeta. I think that he's known me for a long time. He's been coming on the show for a long time. He's been in the comments even longer than that. So he's used to that old rage, and that old rage wouldn't have cared back in the day, you know. And then, you know, he stopped coming on the shows for a while, maybe stopped, you know, got busy with his life. He's young. He's not a bad looking dude. I'm sure he's got a life. Like, as you said, he's really, really smart. So I'm sure he's got a life, and maybe he didn't quite realize the change that I was taking and where the direction that I was taking it in. And I think that he felt maybe like I was selling out a little bit. And yeah, like I feel bad with my frustration that I had with him because he's a good kid. So, you know, I'll never hold it against him, of course, because I was the one in the wrong in that situation, I think. You know, and if he's wants to come back and be on the show, just no, I'm not that rage anymore. You know, I'm gonna really have a conscious effort to be more respectful, more, you know, I really want to get more Christians on the show. It's hard enough getting Christians to come have these conversations. They're not going to do it if they think you're going to cuss them out, you know, or even just dismiss them from the very beginning. You know, why would they want to come and defend something that you're just going to dismiss or gang up on? Another reason why I want to do that, I kind of mentioned it in y'all's stream last night in the chat. I really want to have a me versus Christian stream. There's been a lot of streams lately where Christians are getting ganged up on. So I want all the Christians to come in and gang up on me, you know, that fair is fair, you know, but I want to have more real conversations, not ganging up on Jill, not ganging up on Sky Out, although that's fun. I still want to get another drag Sky Out round, one more before we kill that thing. But, you know, that's all fun, but I want to have real conversations with Christian, and you know, the thing for me is like, either we're going to be, so either you think that it's a mental that religion, that God belief is a mental illness and that it's so evil that it needs to be eradicated from the world, or you're going to be talking about coexistence. How do you live with people that believe in God, and how do they live with you? The first option to me is very atrocious. Nobody really sees it through the end, because if you're going to eradicate religion from the world, it's that same ethno-state argument. How are you going to go about that? You know, unless you're going to use violence. So I'm not for that. That means the only conversation for me to be had is one of coexistence. It took me a while to get there, but that's the conversation that I want to start having moving forward with Christians. Not you're a Christian, you suck. You're a Christian. How can you live? How can you and an atheist live together on the same planet? And is it possible? I think that question is unanswered. We'll find out. We are fundamentally against their, like they're pretty much trained to just look at us like the enemy. So it's going to be a hard thing to get over. Can we get over it? I don't know. I want to talk about it. Can't do it when I'm cussing them out. Some people deserve it.
It's too easy to dehumanize people. It is too easy to see everything that's wrong in religion, and there's a lot that is wrong in religion, and say, therefore, that is the religion. But just seriously look around you at humans. Every single way you decide to split us up and group us, any criteria, like color of the eyes, length of your hair, your beliefs, your color of the skin, whatever criteria you choose to group us up, you will find good people there and bad people there. And that means that the argument of religion bad is wrong. There are aspects of religion which are bad. There are aspects of the internet atheist community which are bad. That is not a valid argument that all atheism is therefore bad, right?
Yeah. And, religion has done a lot of good. And then you do meet religious folks, and I've even met Christians that I would say that have earned not only my respect, but I think that they live really good lives. So if they weren't tainted by that religion, so to speak. I've met a lot of polytheists now that don't seem to have a lot of those things that I dislike about other religions I've been surrounded by my whole life. So I think that once you come in contact with more people and more worldviews, then you can start to expand. You can start to further your knowledge and further your understanding of these things, and not be so involved in your extremism. I think that it's very easy to get wrapped up in extremism and not even realize you're there. I think nobody wants to be an extremist, and yet there are lots of them. So I know one of the things that you wanted to talk about that we haven't really gotten into too much was ethics of trolling, and I think we talked about it a little bit. But like, how do you feel about so is trolling free speech? Is trolling see, I like trolling. I usually really enjoy trolling. I think it's fun, and I interact and I troll them back, and I try to get them mad before they get me mad. But I understand that a lot of people don't like it. And this has been kind of an ongoing conversation amongst moderators and stuff like that. Like, when is trolling becoming too much? And like, to me, always before on the Raging Atheist, it was like, it never is. Just troll them back and stop being butthurt about it. But now it's like I don't know. Like, so what did you mean by ethics of trolling? Like, is there good trolling? Is there bad trolling?
I used to be a lot more amenable to trolling, right? I understand the entertainment value. As I said, I've participated in the TST show. I've been on channels where that is not only the norm, but that is the only content being brought about. I have spent a significant part of my younger days on 4chan, and I was a proper beatard, and more and more I think about it, the more I look at what it's literally doing to us, to this community, to our general communities, to our world. I think it's an outright evil. I'm getting more and more extreme in my kind of recognition that Right? So theft, right? Well, theft is really good. If I get more money from somebody who has it, then I can do things that I couldn't do before, and those things might be good. Rape. Well, sex is really, really good. If I get more rape for myself, I'm going to enjoy myself, and that's going to be really, really good. Trolling. Well, this is really fun, and I'm getting such a feeling of fulfillment by dehumanizing other people and like literally making them outraged and drinking in the rage and the bad feelings that I cause in them. Wait, those things are kind of identical. Are you not aware that you are conscious? And like the argument that I constantly hear and that I constantly see is literally when they are trolling, I need to ban them, block them. They are not bringing anything constructive. They are discouraging the conversation. But when I am trolling, then it's just fun. Then it's just entertainment. I have tried. Dragon Sam once had a conversation with me about it and kind of said something like, "But when I do an educative show about biology and genetics and evolution and all of that, I get 100 views. But when I do a drama show about G-Man and kind of go on his channel and troll the living bejesus out of him, I get 1,000 views or 10,000 views. So obviously people want more of this. And when I do that, it's hard work and I get tired and I'm not having fun. But when I troll G-Man, I'm laughing my ass off and there's a whole community of people laughing with me. Mm-hmm. Yes, but that's kind of the veil of ignorance, the basic principle of morality. If you don't want it done to you, if it feels bad when people do it to you, if you think that when somebody does it to you, that takes away value from your life, then you don't get to do it to others, no matter how good it feels.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm falling on it too. Because we've been having this discussion, and I've urged leniency with moderators. Try not to moderate unless you absolutely feel like you have to moderate, and it's an ongoing discussion. But I've been thinking about trolling, because last night I was trolling in the chat a lot. I was having fun. It was the first time I was ever in one of my own chats, like not in the show, not running everything, and I was actually able to interact with the chat, and I was having a good time and just trolling and having fun. But I got to thinking about it. It's like, yeah, I didn't really add anything to the conversation, not at all. And I think that you're right. Like, I'm not sure that I think that this has really harmed society. Is we do have this ability to troll now and not be genuine in the things we're saying, but just to try to either get a laugh or get a reaction, and it's not contributing to the conversation. So. Yeah, I'm not sure where I fall on it now, because my stance has always been just troll them back, troll them harder than they're trolling you. Don't be a snowflake. And, I don't know, like it just, sometimes the trolling does make me feel like shit, especially like when they mention my daughter and they start trolling personal and it gets to that point and you're just fucking like, I get enraged sometimes. And it doesn't feel good. And I don't ever take my trolling to that because I'm a respectful person. But I think this element takes
there's one thing where you don't take it to that under your own rules, right? Mm-hmm. You think that it's very, very bad to troll about somebody's children, so you don't do that. But like the show that you did the other day about blaspheming, right? Cussing out Jesus.
Oh yeah, that was a bad show. That was a bad idea.
No, but so I mean, you do not perceive the harm in that. If somebody cussed out Jesus to you, that would mean absolutely nothing to you, and that's where the trolling is kind of the worst. When you do it to them, and they get riled up and outraged because you are touching on something sacred to them, that is equivalent as them trolling your daughter, right? Them trolling you with your daughter, them trolling you with racial slurs, them trolling you with things which are sacred to you. Now, the fact that you think that their sacred things are irrelevant should, by equivalence, mean that your sacred things should be irrelevant to them.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a lot of fun in that stream, but I woke up the next day like with some regret because, like, I was thinking about this new direction, and I skirt the line sometimes. Edited videos, it's like I'm used to doing a thing when I do these edited videos, so it's going to be really hard to kind of come out of the way the process I have for my edited videos and the things I say in them. But like that stream, I felt like I just like betrayed myself with that stream, because like I'm thinking about coming out and changing the name, and like I'm going to start talking about how I'm going in a new direction, and I just had a stream where I said the worst things that you could say. I'm like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? I'm like, I was just having fun in the moment, but yeah, I need to think about those things better, because it is all about the reaction. I don't want to hurt people. I want to try to change them. Hi.
What's up, everybody? They party here.
Yeah.
Party.
Hello.
Oh, drunk girls on YouTube. Hey.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Barney, my man. I called you Bernie. I'm thinking Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders gets more girls.
Yeah, girls. But yeah, no, that's that's what I'm trying to get away from, and what I need to stop doing and stop.
Right. The whole point is you don't need that to criticize priests who abuse children. You don't need that to criticize homophobia. There is no point in your conversation with Christians in which you are critical of the Bible, of the concept of God, of the bigotry inherent in their religious beliefs, where you need to employ a tool of harming a human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't do that. Even with my interactions with Matt, I didn't go in there disrespecting his God. I was pretty respectful to him the entire time I talked to him, and I need to have that same approach here on the channel. Despite being me, that Christian vlogger was able to want to have that conversation and make it happen. Not many Christians are going to be like that. I need to understand their worldview. And I think we as atheists need to understand that when we're attacking their worldview, we're attacking everything about them. At least that's the way they see it. And that's not pleasant for anybody. I don't want people attacking everything about me. It's why we react the way we do as atheists when they say that atheism is religion or this or that about atheism. We get all up in arms. They're going to be the same way. It's hard, especially I think if you've been an atheist 15, 20 years, to remember your theism and remember how that would feel to you if you were saying those things. And I need to be more empathetic. I preach empathy. I preach humanism. And then I go and I say, I'm not even going to repeat some of the things I said in that stream. The chat enjoyed it, but, did it help? Did it help? No, it didn't help. It didn't help at all. In fact, that could have led to some of the toxicity I'm experiencing now with the change. Like, dude, just 2.5 weeks ago, you were saying things nobody's ever said about God before. And you're going to jump on me for my little bit of anti-theism. So yeah, no, I completely understand it. I need to stop being that. Sometimes I just don't care, and I need to start caring more. And that's the whole point of this, is to start caring more.
At the very least, if you are going to be offensive for a reason, for a good reason, for communicating an offensive idea that you hold. Don't be offensive just to be offensive. Don't be offensive just to like identify what's going to get your opponent most hurt, most outraged, most.
Well, yeah, and I watch the way that Dragnot interacts with Christians, and just the way he he converses with them and communicates with them, there is really no disrespect. He's trying to run circles around him intellectually, but he doesn't have it in his voice. Like I think Christians somewhat get disarmed because I think that they know like he's not coming at them in any other way besides trying to talk to them in an intelligent manner. The problem is a lot of them just aren't as intelligent as Drag is, but he doesn't attack them like I always do. And then I know I've made him mad a couple times because like the conversation will come to me and Rabbi will say something racist, and then I'm kicking him off the show, and Dragnot doesn't even get a chance to finish his damn point. Like, yeah, that stuff, it's not healthy for the conversation. You know, like Dragnot was doing his thing, Rage got mad, and boom, conversation over. It's not healthy. Maybe we could have reached Rabbi. Probably not, because he's a Black Hebrew Israelite, but you know, maybe. Who knows? Dragnot was doing a hell of a job, and I just messed it up. You know, and I want to have those legitimate conversations that I have been watching on YouTube, that I've been seeing, and that I've been having here, and I want to be able to get more people. It's gotta be more of a serious thing. It can't be the way it was before. I got to be organized, and oh man, I'm sorry, moderators. I will get organized, I promise.
and despite people identifying this as the echo chamber, this is specifically breaking the echo chamber. This is an attempt to reach out to people and kind of think differently. Try to not to be persuaded by them, not to be convinced by them, but to be open to the possibility of understanding what they mean, why they believe those things. And I think that conversation in itself, like how to communicate with people, is bigger than the conversation of whether or not God exists. Bigger than the big debate, because we have gotten so shut in, so slaves to our own minds and ideas, that the world we live in now, this hyper polarized left versus right, everybody demonizing everybody to be the evilest possible, Satan's causes of all evil that need to be eradicated from the face of the earth so that we could keep existing, otherwise the world will be destroyed. Right? That's where we got ourselves.
Yeah, and I think we're afraid to point out the faults in our own community, because it does kind of feed that Christian narrative about, oh, atheists are bad people. If you point out any bad thing that atheists might be doing, and we can't be afraid of that. We can't be afraid of making our community better. And we shouldn't be afraid of our own. We should be willing to talk to our own about some of the things that we're seeing. And at the same time, it is about that normalizing of atheism. And I always thought that's what I stood for, was I'm normalizing atheism, and I'm, disrespecting God. And but how are you normalizing atheism if you're presenting a toxic face to the world, right? So, that's not normalizing it. That's telling people, hey, I don't want to be that. That's fitting that narrative that those Christians are saying, like, this guy doesn't have no empathy. Look at him cuss this dude out. Like can't even stay in the conversation without exploding. Obviously, that he needs God in his life. Why feed that narrative? And that was the fundamental question I started asking myself: is why am I feeding their narrative against me? And I kept doing it over and over and over again. And I'm just not feed that narrative anymore.
From the standpoint of atheist activism, right? Of literally trying to say, like, there is a stigma about the term atheist. Undoubtedly, there is a stigma about the concept of atheism that is shared globally.
Yes,
and there is an attempt, one attempt to normalize that is, let's be brash and upfront and in everybody's faces so that they can see that we're human, which is a big part of what you were doing before. Like, I'm going to show my face and proud to say that I'm an atheist.
Yep. Look at me.
And then you go bashing in Part of it is insecurity. Part of it is it's kind of breaking the ice, right? Another part of it is normalizing the word atheist, saying that atheism doesn't really mean the belief that there are no gods. It actually means just the lack of theism. It is everything in the universe is by its nature atheistic until your parents teach you about God. All agnostics are atheists, all atheists are atheists, Buddhists are atheists. Everybody who doesn't employ the word God or believe in a specific God is an atheist, and theists are actually atheists about all other gods.
Except one.
I'm sorry, you're so watering down the word God, atheist that it no longer means anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I embraced it, not really understanding what it is like. Fuck, you know, I embraced it. I don't believe in Yahweh, so that's all gods, and I don't believe in God anymore. And since I started the Raging Atheist, numerous people have repeatedly taught me that no, by pretty much the definition, I'm agnostic, because I grant the premise that maybe there's a God, maybe there isn't. I just don't believe. I haven't read about one that I can believe in, but who knows if there's one out there. Well, you're philosophically speaking, you're an agnostic. All right, I will grant you that, but I don't believe in gods. You know, I just don't. Like even Wonka and Tonka, the one God that I never actually rejected. I believe in this demon fly. It's been like a week and a half now. How is this thing still even alive? It should have died naturally. But like, I don't even believe in Wonka and Tonka. So like, by that standard, I'm an atheist, right? Like, I grant a premise, and granting the premise is not a belief. So, and I try to explain that, and shit, I don't know. I don't know. I think I don't know what the hell I am.
I would say that I'm a positive atheist. Like, philosophically, I should be an agnostic. I know that by any reasonable argument, the correct position for me would be to be an agnostic, because I cannot exclude the possibility. But everything in my experience of the universe and life and worldview and understanding and knowledge, everything in me supports my belief, which is a belief that there is nothing supernatural, that there is nothing mystical beyond what our minds can conjure and think up and fantasize about. There are no gods. That's what makes me an atheist. Mm-hmm. Now, if I want to normalize the term atheism, all I have to do is sincerely and honestly act according to the things that I profess. I am a humanist. That means that I need to treat humans as though they're humans, with respect and with dignity. Fight them where I disagree with them, but fight them with respect and right? Punish them when I think that they have committed a crime, that they have committed an atrocity, that they need to be stopped. Fight them and punish them, and then regret because a human has done this horrible thing and I needed to punish them, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To have integrity, to be like, we profess reason. We kind of put reason above everything else and then act in unreasonable ways. No, if you profess reason, then argue, present your reasons, be logical. Be prepared to lose a debate if you cannot bring an argument, and then come prepared next time and bring an argument. Study, educate yourself about science, about philosophy, about, right? How be a good person? How is that so hard?
Yeah, and you know, I often say, you know, atheism isn't my worldview. It's just a belief that I have. Like, just like kind of what you just said. You know, I don't believe in any gods. My worldview is humanism, and I need to be a better humanist. And that's what I'm going to strive to be, as a better humanist. I think too often some atheists do make that atheism, anti-theism, their actual worldview. and it allows them to become toxic against theists, and they can't understand them anymore. And you've got to find that understanding, because when you even if you think that you are making a very sound argument about why this is a delusion and a mental illness, by definition, you are insulting the very core of these human beings, and it's not cool. It's not something that I'm trying to do anymore. Not even with Christians, not even with my punching bag sky out. I'm trying to find a better way,
even if you're an anti-theist, right? Even if you're a person who believes that the best thing for the world that you live in is if there was no religion, if we could just eradicate it as a belief completely, the concept of God, the concept of religious worship. If you are an anti-theist, still, if you value reason, if you value secular humanism, if you value any of the things that would justify you saying that religion is bad because you need to supplant it with something that's better, right? Then you need to manifest that thing that's better. You need to, that's not virtue signaling, right? That is literally being a good person.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say like all anti-theists are toxic. No, I've reached out to quite a few since I started this conversation, that people that still consider themselves anti-theist, and I told them quite literally that like I want them on the show more because I actually endorse their brand of anti-theism. I'm just talking about some of the toxicity that I see, and that is based upon my perception. What I might consider toxic might not be considered toxic to Barney or to anybody else. It's all a matter of perception. And I'm just basically basing it off of the changes that I'm trying to make in myself, the toxicity I tried to see in myself, and some of the things that I've seen on Twitter. But Twitter can be just a toxic place to begin with. Like I think Twitter brings the bad out in people sometimes. I really do. Like I can just be a dick, kind of like YouTube does. Like it's very easy to sit here in front of a camera, and be a dick. Nobody's like here in the room, but after a while, I just started looking at those old videos and was like, man, I was a dick. Like I don't want to be a dick.
But it's also, we are social animals. We are like the people that we surround ourselves with. If we have a feeling of belonging, right?
Yeah.
We are going to kind of adopt the norms of the people that we are hanging around with.
Oh, and yeah, I see that. Oh, I see that so much in family I have down in North Carolina. Family that used to be just the biggest hippies, liberals, hair down to their ass. Women not shaving their armpits, and now they're down in North Carolina, and they are the biggest Southern Baptist and Trump supporters. I'm like, wow, man, where you live really does change you. Like the people that you're surrounded by really does change you, and over time they stop being so liberal, and now they're completely opposite than what they were before. I think I tried to not allow that to happen to me. I'm surrounded by conservatives, and I just throw them the thumbs up, or I give them the finger because I get disrespectful sometimes. But I refuse to change, and I actually become more liberal as I get older. They say you become more conservative as you get older. I do not. I get more liberal. Like I'm trying to moderate myself now. Like even with my politics, I'm trying to come out of some extremism and try to be a little bit more moderate in my thinking, because I think that sometimes moderation is needed. I think sometimes you need that fundamental zeal as well. I think everything should be thoroughly thought out and delivered when needed. So yeah, this has been a good conversation. I'm going to wrap it up here shortly, Barney, because I am hot and I need to turn on my air conditioner. But this was really good. I can't wait to go back and watch this one. I like tomorrow before work, I have like 3 streams that I have to go back and watch. I kind of took a day off today. I haven't been on as much as I usually am. Watched the original Avengers with my daughter. I've been on this superhero kick with her lately. Yeah, such a great conversation. I got to get you on more because these are so good. I know we have you're on the other side of the world. Time zones suck here on YouTube. But
I often work night shifts, and whenever I do, I move. English is hard. I'm available to kind of take an hour or two off and join a stream. So
cool.
It's not hard to organize.
Yeah, and I know John's streams are going to be a bit different than mine, but yeah, my goal is to get a more intelligent conversation going forward. More faces, more voices in on the conversation, and you've always been one that's been able to kind of just by asking a simple question make me really consider some of the things that I'm saying, and I need that sometimes. That's why I brought moderation in, because I recognize them in myself. One of the good parts about my personality is I rush in head first. Sometimes I don't fear. But then again, that's one of the bad things about my personality. So it's something that I'm working on. I am a constant work in progress, y'all.
We all are.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. Oh, holy spec! I am gonna put that up there. We're gonna do it. I'm not gonna troll fuck you, Barney. Holy spackle.
Fuck you too, holy speckle.
Like, why am I running from the word fuck? Like, have I ever ran from the word fuck? Why am I running from that word? But yeah, I want to thank the chat for everybody for showing up. This was a great conversation. Thank you, Dragnot, for coming in and being in the chat. Yeah, anybody, if you're interested in coming on the show, I am thinking about maybe maybe one less person on the stream to make it easier for everybody to be able to have a chance to talk. I think we'll come up with that magic number through a process, trial and error. How many people should be in a room to have these conversations? How many different points of view? All that, we're still working on it. But yeah. Thank you so much, Barney. Anything you want to say before we get out of here? Thank
you so much for having me on. And yeah, I've enjoyed this very much, both yesterday and today.
Yeah, I did too. Yesterday, last night's stream was really, really fun. And I learned a lot. I'm going to come in, Dragnot, and start talking some philosophy. And I'm going to start actually reading some philosophy. I'm going to kill this fly. I swear this fly is a demon. But all right, we are getting out of here. So hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and yeah, be part of the change. Be the conversation. I'll see you soon. You should be dead.